Well, welcome back in once again, everybody, to another edition of the 19th Hole Podcast for golfers. I'm your host, Dennis Silvers, welcoming you all into the show. No matter what platform you're on, we've got another wonderful show in store for you today with a terrific guest, first-time guest on the show. So I'm looking forward to chatting with him and asking him some questions, learning a little bit more about him. I'm sure that if you've been playing golf and you read about golf, you've probably heard his name. But we've got a good show in store for you, as we always do. The weather here in Las Vegas has all of a sudden turned and went from like 95 to 55. Like we were passing a state trooper. It is windy. It is rainy. We've got a north wind. Not a real good day to be playing golf unless you could arrange to get everything downwind, but I don't think that's going to happen, and the weather's going to stay like this for a while. So I guess maybe winter is rearing its ugly head here in southern Nevada. And as you know me at all, I'm I'm a hot weather guy, but it is what it is. And if you want to play golf here year round, once in a while you've got to deal with it. So that's what it is. A lot of stuff going on in golf. As you know, the LIV Tour just finished its final event in Miami last week. They've got a bunch of new stuff planned for next year, including more venues, newer venues, and stuff like that. And our guest today is the perfect guy to talk about that. So let me tell you a little bit about our guest. Bob Herrick is an award-winning golf writer for SportsIllustrated.com. The Morning Trend, Morning Read, and has previously covered the game for both ESPN and the Tampa Bay Times. Bob has a degree in journalism, of course, and history from Indiana University. He recently wrote a fantastic book, which somehow got lost in the mail on my way here. I wanted to bring it on camera, but I'll get it pretty soon. He wrote a fantastic book available now called Tiger and Phil, Golf's Most Fascinating Rivalry. So we're going to talk to Bob about that. Bob is an active member and past president of the Golf Writers Association of America, which is a great organization. I've got a lot of friends that belong to it. I think I even belonged to it at one time, but they saw through my facade and kicked me up. But anyway, let's bring up Bob Herrick right now and welcome him onto the show. And you are in Clearwater, Florida, my friend. How's the weather there, by the way?
Dennis, it's quite warm, actually. We had a record high yesterday in Tampa, 90 degrees.
Wow.
Which for early November, even in Florida, is pretty unusual. So
yeah,
it's still very warm today. Supposed to be warm into the weekend. Normally this time of year cools off just a little bit. Not quite down to 55, but, this is November, December are some of the best months of the year here.
Oh, it's got to be, and I'm sure you're probably low on the humidity scale, even with it being that warm, Bob?
Yeah, absolutely. The humidity has tapered off a good bit, certainly from the July, August, September when it's at its worst. So this is good golf weather out here right now.
Yeah, so you're home for a while. You're going to have a chance to play golf. Do you belong to a club out there, or do you kind of go here and there?
Yeah, I play all over the place when I can. I'll be honest, I haven't played much lately. We, our late summer is a lot of rain, a lot of bad weather in terms of storms.
Yeah.
And I just got busy with work. You cover golf, you don't get to play golf, and so since the Open in Scotland, I haven't played a whole lot. So I'm kind of looking forward to getting back into it here soon.
Oh, I'm sure you are. I'm sure you'll get your game tuned up in no time. Bob, let me start off and ask you, what got you interested in journalism in the first place, and how did you navigate over into golf?
Yeah, well, listen, the journalism part was just something I just sort of, was drawn to early on. I mean, I was telling somebody that career ended up being in golf because when I was a kid, I started caddying at a local country club. And And that was my first exposure to golf. I'd never played. I was probably 12 or 13 when I started doing that. That's how I picked up golf. I started playing. I ended up doing all the way through college. I got an Evans scholarship, which is a big thing in the Midwest. It's a caddy scholarship. And then I start out my career, and within a short amount of time, I end up starting to cover golf as well, which, I did college football, college basketball, a lot of other sports, but ends up being that, the majority of it's been golf, and it's been great. I enjoy it immensely. It's a fun sport to write about and cover.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm curious, how did you end up at Indiana State? Were you raised in that area? Where are you from?
From the Chicago area.
Okay.
So that's about 5 hours from Indiana in Bloomington. And, I just sort of gravitated there. They had a journalism program I liked. And the Evans scholarship worked out to go there, and you add it all up, and that's how I got there. And I couldn't have been happier about that decision. Yeah. It was a great choice.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, but I think the Evans scholarship thing emanates from Chicago, doesn't it? I mean, is where
Correct.
It started? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No doubt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chick Evans was a Chicago. Spent a good amount of his time in Chicago. Started the program with some very small amount of funds that he got for doing some recordings.
Right.
That, he was a lifelong amateur, and he didn't accept the money to be.
Yeah.
That he was being paid, so he put it in this scholarship program, and 2 guys started out, and then it grew into this program that's quite substantial today.
Yeah, it is. It's something to be very proud of. Bob, what has been the most significant change to the game in your view since you started writing about golf full time?
I think there's probably a couple of things. Tiger came along during my time, and that gave golf a different kind of legitimacy, I believe. All of a sudden, it was being looked at it not so much as this pastime and this sport played by older people, or it wasn't athletic, those sorts of things. Tiger changed that mindset. He brought a bunch of people who weren't golf people, who weren't necessarily golf fans, into the picture to sort of follow it as a sport. Mm-hmm. And while not all of them stuck around, a lot of them did. And even to this day, people still are curious to see what Tiger does. And so what Tiger then did was he saw a bunch of young kids emulate him in terms of, I need to get fit, I need to get strong,
right.
I need to work out, I need to be, it's not just a hit and giggle, or we're going to drink beer and play golf, and you need to be in good condition. And so there's a whole slew of younger players today who saw what he did, and I think that changed the game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It changed the game. It grew the game, and like you say, not everybody stuck around for it, but there was enough added to it that it did tremendous interest in the game. With everything going on, Bob, in a tour event, and they're all a little bit different, of course, what are the parameters you use as a writer to help decide what you're going to write about?
I think for the most part, especially working for a general sports outlet, you have to go for the bigger stories, the ones that are going to resonate beyond golf. There are tons of great stories in golf that are lower level, that appeal to the hardcore golf fan.
Yeah.
That we sometimes skip because they don't appeal to a wider audience, and that can sometimes be a struggle. We sometimes need to try to balance that. So, but it's more about looking at the big picture, I think, and the big names in the game, the ones who draw interest. Certainly, LIV Golf, whatever you feel about it, has created incredible interest this year. I mean, more so than we've seen probably any story bring to golf since Tiger came along. And since Tiger has made headlines. Rules issues in golf are a big story. I think people who aren't big golf fans are always perplexed by some of the rules things that come up, and they shake their head. Even those of us who are familiar with golf will do that. They happen all the time. You're like, a guy got penalized for that. It's a unique sport in that manner.
Right.
And so these are all things I think that are we try to seize upon, for the bigger audience.
Yeah, no, that's well said, and I totally agree with you. Are there certain types of personalities, Bob, that you find it much easier to do an interview with as opposed to another kind of personality?
Sure. I mean, I think guys who understand that there's an audience out there of fans that are looking for their insight, and there's a lot of players that are very well spoken and have thought about things beyond chipping and putting and driving.
Yeah.
And some of them just aren't that comfortable with it. It's not their fault necessarily. I don't blame them, but we obviously gravitate to some players that are really good talkers.
Yeah.
And that helps a lot. When the old line, he filled up my notebook. I mean, that's the sort of people that you look towards. There's some guys that are just very shy,
Right.
or they don't offer up a whole lot, and that makes the job a little bit harder.
Yeah, it's like doing interviews, like we're doing. It's like pulling
Sure.
teeth. I'll talk to a guest the night before. We'll be on the phone for a solid hour talking about this and that and the other. Great, and then when you get them on air, when you get them on a show, it's quite the opposite. They kind of clam up, but it is what it is. That brings me to this question, and your timing was perfect. There's an old adage, Bob, in golf. When you play professional golf, they say it's like being in show business. First, do you agree with that? And secondly, would you agree that the majority of the tour players coming out of college nowadays really aren't ready for prime time, so to speak?
Well, to the second one, I would say they're more ready for prime time than they used to be. I mean, in terms of being competitive.
Okay.
Back in the day, a guy used to have to sort of, grind it out for a while. He'd become a pro golfer, and he would have to take his lumps.
Yeah.
Look at all these guys we see come out. Look at Colin Morikawa.
Yeah.
He's 25 years old. He's already won 2 majors. He just came out of school 3 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he came right out. A guy like him and Matt Wolff and Victor Hovland, those guys came out and had success immediately.
Right.
That's not that easy.
No,
so I would
no.
say later, these guys now are more prepared than golfers of the past. Now, as far as it being, a show or entertainment, absolutely. And that's, I think, part of the reason why we are in the predicament we are in today in golf, like why we have this division and this controversy, because for years and years, the players who were the show, the stars of the show, have believed, and their agents have believed, that maybe they're not being compensated on a level that is commensurate with their star power. And I've used this analogy several times, but I think it holds. A guy like George Clooney doesn't make a and then hope to be paid on the back end. He's
Right.
guaranteed an amount because of his name,
Right.
and then maybe he'll make more on the back end.
Uh-huh.
Well, golfers have never really, in terms of on the field, have never really had that upfront part. It's always been based on performance, and while that is noble and the meritocracy of golf is applauded, it just in this day and age, it doesn't really go along with the idea that this is a entertainment show,
Right.
and these are the stars of the show, and
Right.
without them, there is no show.
I agree. Totally. And you're never going to replace the guys from decades ago that were the real showmen, like Chi-Chi and like Palmer and, those kind of guys that, people still love today. It's just a little bit different. We're going to get into the LIV Tour because you're quite familiar with it. I'm going to actually do a deep dive on it next week, Bob, because I've got Patrick Reed on the show. So we're gonna talk about that. But anyway, stay with us. We're gonna step away. We're gonna take our first short break here on the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers. When we come back, we're gonna have a lot more with our award-winning golf writer, Bob Herrick. Stay with us. We're back right after this.
Welcome to Tea Time Fitness with Janice. I'm Janice Thornton with JT Fitness and Golf. And today, let's go for a stretch that's going to help you with your hinge. It's also going to help you with rotation in your upper back, which we all need for a golf swing. So let's get ready. Okay, get into an athletic stance, knees slightly bent. We're going to hinge forward, and we're going to place our elbow into our knee, our fist into our other knee. You're going to gently squeeze your legs together for stability. Extend the arm down. I want you to rotate up as far as you can and come back down. Keep your lower half steady. Come back up and back down. Make sure that you do 5 to 8 repetitions on each side and make sure you do both sides. So take your game to the next level and come to jtfitnessandgolf.com and check out the 90-day golf fitness program. Look forward to seeing you there.
Are you an E or a C?
Both have Ridgeback.
These are loaded with tech.
Which one are you gaming? Definitely E for me.
It's just so forgiving. I'm definitely an E.
C is for Cheka. What else?
C is for kill it.
C is me. Low spinning bombs.
So, are you an E or a C?
I don't know. Hey, wait a minute.
Pound for pound, nothing comes close.
Innovation begins at a single point. Elements, each with their unique character. Fire-forged steel creates unprecedented control. Chemistry delivers a touch so soft, combined to create a level of performance previously unimagined. Like magic, the Elixir, the new tour ball from Encore.
You know, I shake my head every time I see Janice Thornton from her golf and fitness app. She's absolutely amazing with the stuff she does, and if I could do half of that stuff, and she's been very, very helpful to me. So JT Fitness and Golf, she is fantastic. Anyway, back with our special guest, Bob Herrick, award-winning golf writer. Bob, when you write a story, what percentage is opinion and what percentage is observation?
I think it depends. I mean, if I'm not writing a column, there's no opinion in there. You know, and that's the thing I've tried to do with all the LIV stuff. It's so polarizing and so controversial that sometimes you write about them and people think that you're promoting their message, which I'm not. I'm just writing about them. I mean, it would be like a political reporter being assigned to write about Trump or Biden.
Yeah.
You do not want to, if you're assigned to do that, it's your job to show no bias.
Right.
You know, and obviously you take out of that what is the most important item, news item. And if it's controversial, so be it. You know, there was a media call with Greg Norman yesterday that several of us were on, and Norman said, you know, that he's disappointed that the PGA Tour won't sit down and talk to him, and he believes they're the reason for all the animosity. Now, he said that. That doesn't necessarily mean I believe it.
Right.
In fact, you know, I then try to back up some of the other side of it with facts. You know, but sometimes people think that just because you're writing on one side means that you favor it, and that's really not how it is. I try to play it down the middle. I think that's the only way to do this.
Yeah.
You got to be fair to both sides.
Totally agree.
You can hate it, but you still have to treat them with fairness, you can love it, and you have to make sure that you don't go over the top.
Yeah,
So
totally
it's a fine
agree.
line.
Yeah, totally agree. What was the attraction for you, Bob, to start covering the LIV Tour as extensively as you did? And I believe, you only missed one of their events out of all of them that they had. So what was the initial attraction?
Well, I'll be honest with you. When it first started, I thought I'd go to the first event and the last event. I thought I'd go to London to see the first one. I figured I'd go to the last one in Miami because it's actually, it's obviously not that far from where I live. It's an easy commute, several hours drive. But my employer SI, we started to see how this was catching on, both good and bad. I mean, the interest in it has been off the charts. I think we'd have been foolish to ignore it.
Yeah.
And that's, a part of the business is sort of seeing what's out there and seeing what people want. And there has been incredible interest in LIV Golf, even among those who can't stand it. So we made the decision to try to get to as many as possible so that I could actually see the ins and outs, see how this thing progressed. Last week I did a huge deep dive for SI as SI cover story on the just the excess, the huge money that's been involved. And I talked to people at every place I went to, and I talked to a lot of players, and I gave examples. They were very keen on me doing something like that since I was going to get to all these events. So that has been my interest. I mean, 6 months ago, back in April, I would have never dreamed I'd do all these events. It's added an element, obviously, to my life that I've had to deal with. I mean, I still cover the tour.
Yeah.
I went to 2 of the 3 playoff events. I went to the President's Cup. I went to all 4 majors. And so this was added on, something that I wasn't planning on early in the year. And I think that just, again, kind of shows, what a big deal this has become.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, and a lot more coming. Do you think this antitrust thing that's going on back and forth is going to be resolved in the near future?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't really know enough about how that's going to go. I mean, it looks like the trial date has been set for early 2024. It's almost a year away now, unless they settle or it gets tossed. That suggests it won't be resolved anytime soon. And it's a very, very interesting debate that will go on with this. I mean, the PGA Tour in its current form has been around for 53, 54 years, back to the late 60s when the PGA Tour broke away from the PGA of America. And that was controversial.
Right.
We've just for all of our lives, it's been the PGA Tour in the U.S.
Right.
And the way they went about their business wasn't really questioned much. And now we've had, over the last several years, players, agents, what have you, questioning it. Mm-hmm. They've wondered whether or not, is it right to make, as an independent contractor, to restrict you to only their tour? Personally, I happen to think that a membership organization that you join, if they have rules, you have to abide by them. And their rules are, you got to play 15 events and you need permission to play outside. Greg Norman is one who believes that if you meet the minimum, you should be able to do whatever you want beyond that. And frankly, I think that's what this lawsuit is going to determine.
Yeah.
Because he clearly believes that as an independent contractor, you should be able to go wherever you want once you've fulfilled your obligations. And I think it's kind of that simple.
Yeah.
And the tour has now, they've taken a strong stance. I guess I don't blame them. They've wanted to keep people from going. If they didn't set harsh rules, it might be easy to try to do both.
Yeah.
They don't want them to do both. Is that legal? I think we're going to, that's what the lawsuit will determine.
Yeah, well, they still got, some really good players on the PGA Tour, no doubt about it. And but you see what's going on in social media. You see what's going on in print. Oh, I can't stand watching a regular tour event. I don't know any of the guys on the leaderboard, and this and that and the other. The attendance is down. The numbers are down because I can't watch DJ or anything like that. I think there's a little bit of merit to that. How about you?
Sure. I mean, goes back to our conversation earlier about entertainment.
Yeah.
You can make the argument, and the tour has now made some changes for next year that are addressing some of this.
Yeah.
There have been too many events and not enough with the top players.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
And, they've had a balancing act. They have a commercial product to put out there, entertainment for fans, sponsors, what have you. But they also try to offer playing opportunities to all their members.
Right.
And to have all those playing opportunities, your top players can't play them all.
Correct.
There's 40-some weeks of tour events. The top guys play 20 times, 22, maybe 25, barely half.
Right.
So what happens the other parts of the year? Now it's going to get even more the haves and have-nots because of this elevated schedule that they're going to, where guys are going to be required to play in these events in order to qualify for this big $100 million bonus pool.
Right.
And yet I think it's probably a good idea. I think it's good that they're doing this, that they are, it can always be changed, but I think fans clamor for the names. And then you're going to still have the fall for the rank and file guys to try to keep their tour card and make their living. And that's okay. Sure. I think you can have the best of both.
Yeah. But I mean, when you talk to some of these guys, and they go, look, instead of playing, like you say, 25 events and traveling, being away from my wife and kids and this and that and the other, I'm going over to LIV, I'm traveling first class. I got 8 events. I'm guaranteed millions of money. That's the way it is. And you know what, Bob? I can't blame them. Can you?
No, I think, it's hard to blame anybody for trying to better themselves and taking the money. I think if we are all faced with life-changing money in our careers, we would all look hard at it, And I think the one area where they actually, though, misspoke or was a bad talking point was this: I want to spend more time with my family. I want to play less.
Yeah.
The reason that was a bad talking point was next year they're going to play 14 events.
Right.
They're going to, if you're eligible for the majors, now you're up to 18.
Right.
Most of them will play the Saudi International Tournament on the Asian Tour, which is funded by the Saudis who are backing LIV. They're going to be required to play that. So now you're up to 19.
Yeah.
If they're honest and really do want to play on the PGA Tour, well, okay. Are you going to really add? If you take out the majors, you'd be adding 11 events. Mm-hmm. Are you going to play 30? I mean, this is sort of what they're saying they were up for doing. I mean, clearly there would need to be some compromise for that to work.
Yeah.
But my point is they're going to play a lot anyway.
Yeah.
And so, this year they were only playing 8, but the plan always was to go to 14.
Right.
I think they hurt themselves with that argument, frankly. It's made for easy fodder to mock them or to criticize them, because that's not going to be the case.
Right. Right. And I think the people that are running the majors would be absolutely crazy not to have these people play. Not only, for attraction, for ticket sales, for sponsors, for whatever, but it's going to be interesting, and I think they are all going to be on board. Anyway, Bob, stick around. We're going to take another short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Bob's new book, where you can get it, what inspired him to write it, so on and so forth. So stay with us. We're back with you shortly, right after this.
As golfers, we want instant gratification when it comes to a better golf swing and playing better golf. Impossible, you say? Not anymore. Golf Boost Artificial Intelligence, AI, has developed and patented the most advanced swing analysis technology in golf. Simply, the algorithms detect your body position and then analyze your golf swing using their artificial intelligence technology. The AI captures all the relevant data from your swing video and then presents you a personalized lesson. Golf Boost AI is the ultimate swing analysis and virtual instruction system for golfers of all ages and abilities. This sophisticated software takes into consideration your height and build, playing level, and returns the ideal solution for your swing. Bottom line, Golf Boost AI is an incredibly convenient and cost-effective tool for golfers to improve their swing. Go to golfboost.com and check it out. The app is free to download and try. Visit golfboost.com today.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to more of the 19th Hole podcast for golfers. You know, watching Tanya Terre, who's a brand ambassador for Encore, who does all the trick shots. She is, if you ever get a chance to see her in person, she is absolutely amazing, and she's a great rep for Encore Golf. And don't forget, check them out at encoregolf.com to join their club, where you get really some remarkable deals, especially on their new golf ball, that Vero X2 that was just released. I'm telling you, is just absolutely awesome. Anyway, back with golf writer Bob Herrick. Bob, do you think Tiger has done competitively? Because I sure as hell do, and most of my friends think also.
I think it's going to be hard for him, but I just don't want to count him out yet. I think you do that at your own peril. He's shown us many times that when he was down, that he could come back. This is obviously the biggest hurdle. His age, the injuries that he suffered were traumatic.
Yeah.
We're well past a year since it, and he's still got a long way to go. I think it's going to be interesting to hear what happens the rest of the year.
Yeah.
His tournament in the Bahamas has typically been a place that he's used to kind of launch getting back into playing. I think it's pretty important that he plays there and maybe shows some improvement. If he doesn't play there, I don't think that's a good sign.
Yeah.
He needs to play. Just trying to play the majors this past year was difficult. He wasn't in competitive form enough. He showed enough good things with his game, but there's so much more to it than that.
Yeah.
And it was an incredible effort, but can he still? I got to believe that there's still something in him that he says he wants to give it a try.
Yeah, well, you can't blame him for that, but quite honestly, I just don't think there's enough gas in his tank for 4 rounds, Bob, to be competitive.
Right.
Like sure he's going to win another couple of majors. He must be smoking dope. Really? There's no way.
I mean, I think majors is a big ask. The problem is that's all he played. He decided to come. He decided to play in the events that are the hardest to win as it is without the prep. I mean, I think he could win a regular event or two. He's going to probably play at Riviera, which he hosts. Mm-hmm. It's never been a course it's a course he's never won on. He's always struggled there.
Yeah.
I mean, are you going to come play at Arnold Palmer? He's won there 8 times. He won there when he was at the best of his best. It's a hard golf course.
Yeah.
So he's put himself in a tough spot if he's going to only play at 6 tournaments a year.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get your game to peak doing it that way. So again, I think this fall here, the winner, the hero, he'll probably play with his son Charlie at the PNC again. That's a few rounds to see where he is. Mm-hmm. Then he can kind of regroup and try to get ready again. Does he play? If he plays at Riviera in mid-February, does he play the Players Championship
Right.
a month before the Masters.
Right.
He needs some starts before going to Augusta next time.
Yeah, no, absolutely correct. All right, speaking about starting, you've become an author, and what prompted you to write this book, number one? Why did you write specifically about Phil and Tiger? And where could everybody get this book? Because it's obviously something I think you should have for your golf library.
Well, it's available on Amazon. That's the easiest way to direct people. If you go order it on Amazon, you can have it the next day typically. Barnes & Noble's another good spot. But I think the idea sort of came about when Tiger won the Masters in 2019. His 15th major, the comeback, coming from behind. And I thought there might have been a book in that. And then I decided, nobody's ever really written much about Phil. Now, of course, that's changed a lot since.
Right.
And nobody's really dived into their relationship. And I address in the book the idea that Tiger had no rival. You could certainly argue that based on record. Tiger, obviously, 15 majors to 6, 82 wins to 45. But yet there was nobody else close to Phil. And Phil was the one who probably made him sweat the most, even if Tiger didn't always want to admit it. They had that kind of disastrous Ryder Cup pairing back in 2004, which I highlighted. They had a great duel at Doral in 05. From 04 to 06, they traded green jackets. They collaborated on that match in Vegas 4 years ago, and now they couldn't be farther apart again, frankly. Tiger's dead set against LIV. Phil's gone full on. So I go all the way back to their youth. Phil was Tiger before Tiger.
Right.
Everybody kind of knows that Tiger was a child prodigy almost. Right. Well, so was Phil. Phil was great as a kid. He was being recruited to college when he was a freshman in high school. He won 3 NCAAs. He won a tour event as an amateur. Tiger never did that.
Right.
You could have made the argument if you put their amateur accomplishments side by side and didn't know who was who, you might have thought Phil would have had the better career.
Yeah.
So anyway, I dive into all that stuff, and it was fun. It was a fun project to do.
I bet it was. Do you have any plans for another book?
Yeah, actually, I'm kind of I'm looking at diving into Tiger and that 19 win, and just what we've come to learn about Tiger is his legacy. I think is going to be more about just being a great champion. I think we're going to look back on him as someone who was incredibly resilient, who never quit, who just had this extra gear that most people don't have. I mean, he needed that to win at Torrey Pines in 08. He needed that to come back from his personal scandal. That was incredibly embarrassing and difficult for him. He needed it to win again at the Masters in 2019. And he needed it, frankly, just to even come back this year.
Yeah.
And so I think as we've gotten older and he's gotten older, we're going to look at his career a little bit different than, he was just an incredible machine-like winner.
Yeah.
There was more to it than that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm looking forward to getting in the book and reading it because Dean Rymeth is a very good friend of mine. Dean was Phil's very first teacher for 13 years, and there's a lot of stories and stuff, and I look forward to getting it and reading it. All right, last thing before I let you go. Everybody says, first of all, you're going to be at the PGA show in January.
Possibly. I'm not sure yet. It's usually the week at Torrey Pines, so it's possible I'll be at Torrey Pines instead. But
okay.
But obviously the PGA show is going to be. It looks like they're getting back on track.
Oh yeah, everybody's going to be there, and if you go, I'm going to go. Of course, I go every year. Let me know so we can, hook up. But last thing, everybody said without television, without other forms of communication like YouTube and Facebook and this and that, the LIV Tour is really going to struggle. Do you think they're going to get a TV deal? Because I do. I really think they are.
I think they will, and I think it's imperative. It's really kind of the basis for what they want to do going forward. In order in order to get exposure, you need to be on TV in some form. Clearly, the YouTube and their own website has not captured a big enough audience for what they want to accomplish. Once you get some sort of TV, then sponsors might be more willing to get on board because they'll be exposed.
Right.
And, you know, they've got this team concept where they want to actually sell these teams off as franchises. That is sort of their business model. I don't think it's going to happen in 2023. I think they need another year to build. But in order for that to happen, there has to be exposure. For somebody to want to buy that team and monetize it and perhaps make money off of sponsorships or whatever, they have to be visible.
Correct.
You know, and so that's probably been their biggest flaw so far.
Correct.
They've gotten more attention out of the negativity than they have out of the actual product.
Good point. That's a very good point. Real quickly, lastly, you're around these tour guys and all that stuff and around the LIV players. You must hear some rumors about who's maybe thinking about going, about jumping ship. I certainly have. Do you give that any heed? Take it seriously?
Sure, absolutely. You have to. I mean, a lot of what's going on throughout the year, that ended up coming true. You know, there had been rumors about about Dustin Johnson and Phil and Bryson DeChambeau and Koepka and Cam Smith, and that all happened. Now, I will say this: it's tightened up now. For whatever reason, the names that are coming out, you hear Schauffele, you hear Cantlay, you hear John Rahm still.
Right.
I have no indication that any of that is happening. I don't know if it's just, you know, how the rumor mill works sometimes. If it's because those guys haven't completely slammed the door on it. But from the LIV side of things, they seem to be really keeping a lid on it. I think they very much want to try to get some of these guys on board, but do not want it to get out just to protect them. So it's going to be interesting. They have some openings. You know, they have 5, 6, 7 openings, they say. And clearly they're going to want to bring over some names. That gives them a bang when they get that.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. All right, don't forget Tiger and Phil, Golf's Most Fascinating Rivalry, written by our guest Bob Herrick. Bob, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm glad Jamie McWilliams was able to hook us up, and it's been great. We'd love to get you back on sooner than later, and we thank you for your time.
Excellent. I'd be happy to do it again. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Bob. Bob Herrick, everybody. Read his stuff, si.com. All right, we're going to segue, take our last break. We're going to start it off with Crunch Time with Carrie. Be right back.
Welcome to Crunch Time with Carrie. I am Carrie O'Rourke, owner of Core Golf Fitness, in partnership with Dennis Silvers of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers, where we show you how to improve your swing by improving your body. The glutes are considered the most important muscle for golf because that is where your ground force power is originated, which creates the power that travels through your body, through the club, and to the ball. Want to know a quick way to improve your glute strength? Go ahead, stick your right leg back, and with nice tall posture, lift and lower by squeezing through that right glute muscle. Really isolate the muscle. Super simple. Make sure you do both sides, lift and lower, straight through those glutes, squeezing the whole time. If you'd like to know more about improving your body for golf, I would love to see you inside of my virtual Golf Flex Academy, where I help golfers improve flexibility and speed specifically for golf. Find out more at coregolffitness.com or find me on Facebook or Instagram at Carrie O'Rourke. Give that glute exercise a try and let me know how it goes.
Hey golfers, I've been a golf talk show host for a long time, and I've been playing golf even longer. Being in golf media, I've had the chance to play every ball ever made. I've tried them all. Well, my search is finally over because I found the best ball I have ever played with, and more golfers are finding the same thing. I started playing with the Elixir golf ball made by Encore Golf. Encore Golf has revolutionized both their golf balls, the Elixir or the Avant 55, or the brand new Vero X1, to where the performance of either will simply blow you away. It did me. If you're looking for better performance and durability with your ball, Encore Golf has it. Don't just take my word for it. Check them out at EncoreGolf.com and you'll become convinced, as I am, the first time you tee it up with Encore. It's the best performing ball for the price. Go to EncoreGolf.com and see for yourself. Your scores will love you for it. That's ONCORE Golf.com. All right, welcome back, everybody. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers. Great show with Bob Herrick today. And as I mentioned, we are scheduled to have Captain America on next week. Patrick Reed, who's been getting a tremendous amount of ink, not all of it great, unfortunately, but he's a world-class tour player. And really, really looking forward to that. So we hope to see you then. Until then, keep it in the short stuff. We hope you get a chance to get out and play golf. We'll see you back same time, same place next week. So long, everybody.